Welcome back to Sailing Moxie. I'm Matt. In addition to Moxie, the Hunter 54 I am refitting in Florida, I also own this boat, a 50-foot trimaran that currently sits in Hawaii. I have owned this boat for just over 4 years, and she is in what I call Refit Purgatory. The reason is this. This trimaran is located in Hawaii where I bought her. The problem is that Hawaii is 2,000 miles away from the US mainland. My plan was to have her fixed up enough to make the journey to Florida through the Panama Canal and then to refit her myself in Florida. However, after several big pushes to get her ready to make the trip over the last 4 years, the repairs simply kept dragging on and we had delay after delay, and so she remains, 4 years later, on her mooring in Oahu. I saw this boat on Yacht World while I was working overseas. I called the broker and got some additional information on her, put down a deposit, and then I flew to Hawaii myself to take a look and complete the purchase. She was originally on Maui when I bought her, and a few weeks later I had her moved to Oahu to start work on her. This boat is 50 feet long. She is a trimaran, which means that she has 3 hulls. Her beam is about 25.5 feet wide. Because of her width and the 3 hulls, she does not need a keel to remain upright when sailing. Instead, she has dagger boards. Because of this lack of a keel, she only draws about 3 to 4 feet of water, which makes her an ideal boat for cruising around Florida and the Bahamas. That's why I bought her. This boat is a 1976 Norman Cross design trimaran. When she was built, she was originally 46 feet long and was a ketch with 2 masts. She also had a partial keel that ran under the main hull. She has passed through several owners, and one of the owners had the keel removed, replaced the 2 masts with one larger one to make her a sloop, extended the boom, and extended her stern by 4 feet to bring her to 50 feet. This conversion was made to make her less of a cruising vessel and more of an ocean-going blue water cruiser. One of the previous owners has taken her around the world and sailed her around the Pacific to Australia and New Zealand before taking her to Hawaii where she went up for sale. As I mentioned, instead of a weighted keel, she has 2 retractable dagger boards, one on each side. They can be lowered while sailing to help her point to the wind, and they can be brought up in shallow water. Here is one of the dagger boards being built several years ago. The dagger boards go up and down through slots through the starboard and port hulls, or amas. She has 2 cockpits, one on each side, and can be sailed from one of the cockpits. In addition, she has a helm inside as well, where the engine can be controlled and she can be steered. This trimaran has a massive interior with lots of living space. Here is the interior helm under one of the previous owners. The galley is wide and open with lots of storage space. She has 4 separate berths as well as a V-berth up front in the center hull that can also be used for additional storage. Here is a small table setting across from the galley. This is the central salon area that leads to both cockpits outside. And here is the forward V-berth in the center hull. One of the first things we addressed for the crossing to the mainland was the diesel engine. She had an old Yanmar 30 horsepower, but after having it worked on for some time, we decided to replace the engine with a slightly larger rebuilt diesel. The sails were in pretty rough shape and had been beaten up by the wind, sun, and salt. These were going to have to be a top priority in preparing for the crossing, but right away we had them taken down and placed inside to avoid further damage from the elements. There was some interior hull work performed, but only what was immediately necessary. The rigging needed to be addressed as well, and I had professional riggers work on her and replace many of the cables and other rigging components for the crossing. The exterior looked okay, but any improvements would be held until I got her to Florida and could begin the more cosmetic refit there. However, we had her pulled out of the water to have some soft spots in her hull repaired and for a fresh coat of protective bottom paint. After 4 years and several pushes to get her ready for the trip to the mainland and eventually to Florida, she still remains on her mooring near Honolulu. She's in Purgatory, and I'm considering another attempt to get her moved to Florida even while I refit Moxie. I had put her up for sale for 7 months, but we did not get a single bid for her. I learned a lot of lessons in the 4 years I've owned this boat, and I'm applying some of those lessons to refit Moxie in Florida, which has been a far more positive experience. The story of this boat is to be continued, and I'll certainly mention the trimaran and some of the lessons I've learned along the way here and there in future videos. In the next video, I'll provide some updates on the progress with Moxie in Florida, so be sure to click the subscribe button to hear about those updates. For Sailing Moxie, I'm Matt, and we'll see you next time.